Hey, it's Phil Meyer. In this video, we will explore techniques that can help improve your controller combat efficiency in Final Fantasy XIV. The more efficient you are, the better you can perform, which can lead to an experience that is just more fun. To get the most of this video, I really recommend watching my previous two controller guides first, as we'll be building upon the foundation they set up. Links are in this video's description. Second, we're going to get into the weeds here, so make sure you're ready and comfortable for that level of detail. There are four main topics we'll get into. Let's talk about assist targeting first. If you have yet to hear that term, assist targeting allows you to target the target of your target. Now that's kind of a mouthful, but let me illustrate with the help of Boko. Boko here has some aggression he's working out on this training dummy. I have Boko targeted, so I can use an assist to switch my target to Boko's target. Likewise, the training dummy has Boko targeted, so if I use an assist again, I'll end up retargeting Boko. Keyboard users have a default keybind for assist targeting, but on the controller there is no default. So you can enable this in two different ways. The first is to go into your controller configuration settings and change one of the thumbstick buttons to assist target. The second is to create a macro that you can drop onto your hotbar. Note that these two macro commands will do the same thing. So that's what assist targeting is and how to use it, but how does it help? Let me give you a couple different examples. This first one is during dungeon exploration. The combat leader, normally the tank, will be pulling enemy aggro. It's often a good idea for the other party members to focus their damage dealing on the same single target to take them down faster. Party members can make this easier for themselves by first targeting their tank, and then using assist targeting to shift focus to the enemy that the tank is actively dealing with. Once the enemy is eliminated, the party members can retarget their tank and repeat. Here's another example as a healer. I have the trial boss targeted and it's about to do its tank buster. I can use assist targeting to target the boss's target, which is my party's main tank. I can cast a barrier spell to shield the tank and then switch my attention back to the boss with either another assist or focus target. What is accomplished by assist targeting can be done in other ways, but assist targeting can make the process simpler. Next, let's take a closer look at the core targeting types. Tab targeting, list targeting, and filter targeting all have their areas of strength. With list targeting, you can select an enemy or party member predictably without needing to see where they are located on the battlefield. However, being able to select a target by position with filter targeting is important as well. Here, a party member has moved close to me. This is a good opportunity for me to heal them. Rather than cycling through the party list to soft target them, I can clear my current target and then press left or right on my directional pad to quickly select them. This saves me a little brain power as I'm not spending time mapping the player to their spot in the party list. While we're talking about party targeting, here's an option I recommend turning on. You'll notice the names of my party members are colored according to their roles. In character configuration settings, you can turn on the option to show nameplate job icons and role colors, and I find this really helps for making quick tactical decisions. DPS and tanks can quickly see where healers are located on the battlefield and move closer to them for healing as necessary. Likewise, if DPS or healers are taking too much aggro, it's easier to locate a tank and move closer for protection. This also helps with party list targeting. If I need to target a party member I see on the field, but positional targeting might not be the best method at the moment, I know I can press down on the directional pad to more quickly select a tank or healer, and likewise I can press up on the directional pad to start targeting DPS party members, which appear at the bottom of the list by default. The weakness to both list and filter targeting is that since they are done with the directional pad, you won't be able to move your character with the left thumbstick while using them. More on that part later. Now, tab targeting's main strength fills in for list and filter targeting weaknesses. Since it uses the controller's shoulder buttons, you can both move your character and manipulate the camera while changing targets. This keeps you more agile as you're responding to incoming threats. For the last point in this section, when needing to pick a new target, it can often be more efficient to clear your current target, move your camera so that your new target is near the center of the screen, and then use either filter or tab targeting to select it, rather than spending the time cycling over to the new target. These tips may seem obvious, but if you've been successfully playing through content for some time, it is easy to repeat the same patterns that have been working for you without stopping to think about how they could be improved. That has been my experience at least. Let's talk about ability placements on your hotbar. In my cross hotbar video, I touched on how the face buttons could be given priority for abilities that are cast instantly, allowing you to invoke them with your right thumb while simultaneously maintaining movement with your left thumb. In addition to that, grouping skills that you often use together will help make using them even smoother. For example, I keep Thin Air, Swift Cast, and Raise grouped together as a face button cluster so I can quickly use them in succession while on the move. This makes me much more efficient at quickly raising a party member than if these abilities were spread out on the hotbar. Another detail that can help with optimizing hotbar placement is understanding the context in which the abilities are used. I have Benediction set up to the up directional button, even though it is an instant cast skill. This means I can't keep my thumb on the left analog stick if I intend to use this skill. However, the reason I chose this location for this skill is that when I'm ready to use it, I normally am soft targeting a party member using up or down on the directional pad already, meaning there is less of a need for it to be assigned to a face button, compared to something like Afflatus Rapture, which is an instant cast proximity ability that does not require a target. There will be no perfect setup, and sometimes I find I do need my character to be moving while I'm trying to target a party member or use a skill that is mapped to a directional button. In those situations, I can use auto run to help with that. By default, you can make your character auto run by moving in a direction, tapping the left bumper, and then releasing the left analog stick. While your character is auto running, your left thumb is free for both filter and list targeting or to use an action. You will have less control over your character's movement with this, of course, and you want to make sure you don't run off a cliff, but it can help in a pinch during specific situations. Now, if you already have a hotbar setup that you're comfortable with, and you want to take the time to further optimize it, it can be really hard to undo the muscle memory you've built up over time. What I find works best for me is to plan out the end result of how I want my hotbar to look, and only swap 1 or 2 skills at a time as I start building reflexes with a new configuration. That way, I don't need to completely unlearn everything at once, and instead can work myself up to my ending arrangement. Repeating a duty instance that I'm very familiar with can really help with that. Since I already understand the boss fight, that part will be predictable and will require less mental energy, letting me direct more attention towards relearning my hotbar layout. The last thing I'll mention for hotbars is that if you're planning a layout for a job class that you are in the process of leveling up, you can actually start reading through the skills, understanding how they work, and then assigning them to your hotbar without first having learned them. That way you can better visualize what your hotbar end result may look like and grow into it as you level up the job class. For example, my Red Mage level isn't quite high enough yet to use Verraise, but I'm pretty sure this is where I want it on my hotbar, so I've gone ahead and placed it there already. Let's now talk about the use of combat macros. I generally do not use ability macros in combat anymore, but I know that many people do, so I'd like to give some examples on what can be done with them. At the end of this section, I'll explain some of the cons that come with them, and you can sort out what is best for your playstyle. This first example is a raise macro. This first tries to raise a party member that is targeted, and then it tries to raise every party member in order. The idea is the macro will raise the first dead party member, giving priority to your current target if you have one, but not requiring one. Another common raise macro is one that will drop a message in party chat to notify the other healer that you are casting raise. This style of macro can also be used for skills that normally use ground targeting, allowing you to pick a target before casting the skill instead of requiring the intermediate step of ground placement. Here is an example of a macro that will cast Liturgy of the Bell at my target's feet, and if that cannot be done, then it will default to the normal ground targeting mode. At first glance, these macros seem great, and they can be. However, the primary negative is that macros will ignore skill queuing. Skill queuing allows you to input your next action during a brief buffer of time towards the end of your cooldown cycle. This buffer is roughly about half a second. Skill queuing smooths out your inputs and does make a notable difference in overall performance. Let me show you the difference using Glare, White Mage's main attack spell, just for ease of example. Without the macro, I can keep casting it consistently and smoothly. However, when Glare's inside a macro, I'll need to intentionally wait for my cooldown to expire before I can cast it again. This does slow me down, and if I invoke the macro a little too early, I'll end up doing nothing and will need to press the button again in order to execute it. A similar thing can occur with skills that use ground targets, though the behavior is different. In this example, I have a target, and I am attempting to use a ground action macro immediately after a previous action. If I attempt the macro before I can actually cast the skill, you can see that the macro goes into its ground targeting mode by default, rather than being cast at my target's position. This is because the ability is not yet ready to be used, so the macro line that attempts to use it on a target is ignored, and the next line is activated instead. So even though the action was still activated, it wasn't what I was anticipating, which kind of throws me off. In the middle of a challenging battle, consistency can be just as important as speed, if not more so. This is not as bad as losing skill queuing, but I wanted to show that macros may not always do what you expect. If you're looking to smooth out ground targeting specifically, there are additional options in character configuration settings you can check out, such as limiting the target ring to only valid areas and letting you use the same button to both activate and execute the skill. This topic of user macros really warrants its own video, which is why rather than dive in further here, I'll direct you to another video that discusses it in much more detail. There'll be a link in the video description. And to be clear, my goal is not to dissuade you from using combat macros if it makes you more effective or just enjoy the game more. I want to give you the information so you can play the way you want to play. That said, I really hope this video helped you out. Keep adventuring and take care everyone.